Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Gaby U Show. I am your host, Gaby U. So today I have another amazing guest, Arlene Marron. And before we dive into our topic today, I'm going to tell you some things about her. Arlene Marron is an author. So about a week before she retired from a career in the healthcare field in December 2019, a coworker had commented that she should do something from her bucket list. Arlene immediately replies that she would write a novel. She wondered why she had replied so quickly and with such conviction, as she hadn't thought about writing a book since her adolescence. She had took a few writing courses when she was in high school and considered college and a career in writing, but then decided to go into nursing school instead. She didn't realize writing a novel was on her bucket list. Beneath a Blanket of Snow was her first novel, and she was so overwhelmed by the wonderful response to the book, so she decided to keep writing. She then went ahead to release If We Had Known in April 2021. She lives in the US, in Pennsylvania, with her husband, Jerry. And here is Arlene Marron. Welcome to the Gaby U Show.
Thank you so much, Gaby, for having me.
Yes, we are so happy to have you here, me and the audience. So, Arlene, I have my two icebreaker questions that I use that to start my show. And so we're going to start with that before we go right into what, know more about you. So the first one is, I want you to tell me, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Yes.
Is, well, I make a really great mac and cheese.
Oh.
Yeah. Some recipes have a lot of milk and a little cheese. Mine has a little milk and a lot of cheese.
Okay.
And the first time I made it, I said, "Oh, this is too much cheese." But guess what? There's no such thing as too much cheese.
Ah. Awesome. Yeah. The mac and cheese, they have different types. People think that it's just, just put your milk, but it varies.
and the technique for making it as well. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Okay. So the next question is, what is your favorite quote?
I think my favorite one would be from Toni Morrison, and it has to do with writing. And she said, if there's a book that you want to read and it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it.
That is great. Love that. That gives me inspiration, being that I'm going to be an author soon. So
there you go.
Oh, that is great. All right. So, Arlene, I want to ask you, let me just say, I want you to share with me and the audience, what are the key things that you feel that has shaped you to be this woman you are today? I want you to go all the way to share with me your struggles, your victories, let it all. Let us know.
Okay. So, so I was working full time and married and had 3 children. And then my ex-husband was involved in something. He was convicted of something, and I was left to be a single parent at that time. Now, prior to that, actually, we had separated. And so, there's that whole thing, getting used to that. We basically were sharing custody of the children, but it's very difficult. And it was kind of a shock to me to even be in that situation. And the first time that, their father came and took them for the weekend, even though he was going, a few miles away, the fact that he was actually taking them out of the house, that I think it just tore me apart, to be in that situation. So we were already separated, and then something happened, and he was convicted of a crime, and then he was totally out of their lives, and out of my life, both physically and financially. And so I was left to literally hold the bag for these three children in school. And I was working full time. I was going to school. And luckily, since I was working as a nurse, I made a decent salary and I was able to keep things going, but it was certainly tough. Figuring out which bills I could put off paying. Most people know the idea. That for me was the most difficult. And then, to get through that and to get through the several years of school that they still had left, and working and finish my own schooling. And then, with the financial issues. And then I started a new relationship with my current husband. But that was tough. And that, I never expected to be in that situation. And I think that most people who are, didn't expect it, never planned it. I have said that if somebody had told me in advance everything I was going to go through in several years, I would have said, forget it. I'm checking out now. I'm not going to do this. I don't have the strength to do this. Mm-hmm. But, we get through.
Yes. Wow. So what would you say, because now, you are an author and, you've been a nurse for so many years. Can you talk to us about that? How, coming from that whole process to be where you are right now?
It sometimes amazes me that, when you say an author, but I think that, to have persevered, and I'm definitely a much stronger person than I was before all this started. And I was a shy child. It just amazes me. People are always surprised when they hear that. And I said, oh yeah, I think that was the way I was raised. That and I hardly raised my hand in class and whatever. But I somehow, found the strength. And I remember more than once laying in bed and saying, there's no way I want to get up. There's no way I want to go to work. But then, you have to. And I know that my children said to me when the whole thing happened with their father, they said, initially, we don't want to go to school today. And I said, oh, you have to go, because nothing's going to change tomorrow. And so you might as well just deal with it today. And that for me was a strength that I didn't know I had, to get through all of this. And I don't think my life was different than most people who struggle, for something. And now I actually look at the people who didn't have very many struggles in their life. And there are not a lot of those people, but they were the people that I referred to in, it's like white picket fence, like living in your nice house surrounded by your white picket fence with your, your children and and everything's just going fine. And, I take actually a lot of, respect that I actually, got this and got through this. And I feel that I can really see and empathize with people, because maybe I didn't go through the same thing. Maybe I wasn't homeless. Maybe I, wasn't hungry, but I certainly had my share of, of problems. And I think most people have, and most people can relate to that.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. So what would you say now that you are most proud of as a woman?
Just persevering and getting through everything, and emerging stronger, because there are some people who would just fall in a heap, and not be able to go on. And so I think the fact that I did, and I got through everything and emerged stronger, and I think my children are stronger too. I do remember my son, several years later, after I said to him, "You must go to school," I remember overhearing him talking to a friend who was going through some family issues. And I heard him say, "Oh no, it's the best thing. You just have to go to school. You just have to deal with it." And I thought, "Oh, that's great. I know I did the right thing."
Yes. There's this thing I say all the time is, the kids are watching, we sometimes will feel like, have I done enough for them? But then when you see them now grown and what they do, you feel like, oh, you start feeling great, like, I think I did a good job now.
Yeah. Well, that happened because, of course, sometimes they fought me on things, and they were hurting too, and now that I see them, that they're grown and they're have families of their own, and they're doing well, that to me is a sense of accomplishment for them and for me.
Yes.
And they've come back and said, "Wow, I didn't realize it at the time, what you went through, and thank you." And that's a wonderful thing.
Yes. Wow. That is awesome. Wow. So what would you want some encouraging words you want to give our listeners today, the women listening to us today? What are some of the words you want to give them?
Well, I think we have to look at the possibilities, and for things that are better, and also I think that it's important that you're never too old to learn something new, and whether that is going back to school, whether it's a career, whether it's a hobby. And I know that in some ways I feel like I've just come into my prime, because in the past probably 12 years I've just done so many new things. It's like I just can't I can't do enough right now. I almost want to say, wow, I need 30 more good years, because I'm just getting started.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is so powerful, and I've had a lot of people that will say stuff like that, like, "Oh, I'm too old. I have kids now. I can't do this. I have to wait for my kids before I do this," all that. I mean, I know everybody has their own capacity, but I think sometimes in life we give so many excuses, and I know everybody's different. Yes. But never too young, never too old for something. For me, the way I look at it is that where there is life, there is hope.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, and there were so many opportunities now. There were ways to get an education without leaving the house. There were, and it, you're just never too old. I mean, I've been taking piano lessons for many years.
Awesome.
And and I never took them as a child. And most people I know who play piano took lessons as a child and then quit. And
I have that, my kids.
Yeah. So, but as an adult, I can appreciate it more. And and so I've been told, do I have any real musical talent? No. I've been told that I, have perseverance, and I do, and I practice. And there's just, and I think you're right about the age. There are people who just say, oh, I'm 50 and I'm too old, and I've, I started riding a bicycle, for recreation in my 50s, and the piano lessons, and and other things, and then writing in my 60s. And so
Wow.
yeah, it wasn't something that was planned, but I didn't say, oh, I'm too old to write a book. I said, oh, let me see what happens.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is so good. That's a perseverance, having the hope and knowing that, you know what, I'm still living in this world. You just have to
Right.
keep discovering all those gifts. It doesn't matter what age you discover them,
Right. And if I had written my book, or if I'd written the manuscript and it wasn't published, or I didn't I didn't get it out there, as far as I was concerned, I had checked that item off my bucket list. I had written it even though I didn't know it was on my bucket list.
Yes.
And that was just something else. That was just just a casual comment and then I said, wow, why would I say that? I'm going to write a novel. I haven't thought about that in many, many years.
Yes.
But then you get to think, and maybe.
That was your angel.
Yeah. And it was just, I started to think, well, why would I just say that? And why would I say it, so quickly? Like, I didn't even think about it. It just came out. Oh, I'm going to write a novel. And then I thought, really?
Because, there's something, talking about that is probably something in your I don't know how to say it, inner mind, or, it's something that you have not said it out, but it's probably something you have kind of ruminating in your brain that you didn't realize. And then you just needed that person to speak that thing out to remind you, and it's activated, like it's been in your brain. Maybe you've been dreaming about it, you sleep about it, but you don't, so because there are so many times that I have had that kind of encounter. People just say something like that. I'm like, you know what? And I respond, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it.
Right. And that, and I think you're right. I mean, this is certainly something I thought about, maybe preteen, early teen, even into high school.
Yeah.
I was considering it. And then I went to nursing school, and I never regretted that. But over the years, I never said to myself, oh, I'm going to write, or I'm going to write when I retire. I just never thought about it. And until that day.
Yes. Wow. That is
and who knows if she hadn't said that to me, if we hadn't had that conversation just like that, who knows?
So at the right time. At the right time.
At the right time.
For me, I don't know for you, but I'm a woman of faith, and I believe that, God, speaks to people and just give them this message. And that was that right time that thing just came up, so that you could, get it going, be like, how come all this time nobody asked me, and this was this time? So that was just the right time. And as I said, that person was the angel trying to say, hey, girl.
Yeah. Yeah, because certainly, I've thought about bucket lists. I never sat down to write one, but I certainly, you
had it in your head, like going.
I guess it was, and then it came out.
Yes, that is so great. Yeah. Wow. So how can people connect with you? And is there any projects you're working on, and all that? Just let us know what.
Well, I do have a website, and it's www.arlenemarron.com. It's actually the name that's on my book, which is actually a hyphenated name and I am thinking about writing a third novel.
Oh,
I have ideas in my head, and I usually roll around, some ideas before I sit to write. And I do not plan the whole story, but I plan an idea, and I do have an idea. So I think probably in the fall, I'm going to sit down and then start to write again.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the thing. Those of you listening that are thinking of writing a book, if you write, start one, you're going to keep going. You just have to get started. That is the key.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I do. And that was the interesting thing, is that, I don't plan everything in my books. And so anybody who's listening who knows, an author or has ever written, that sometimes your characters in your book do
Mm-hmm.
things that you don't expect. And that happened to me. It kind of blew me away the first time it happened, because I just looked up from something that my fingers had typed, and I said, "Oh, wow, like I didn't know that." And it's wild.
Bringing your mind into the paper or bring into the computer.
Yeah, well, what happens, I think, is you just get so into your characters that you're living at that point through then. And I was actually having a dialogue. My character was having a dialogue with someone else, and so she said something. She revealed something. And then the other character said something else that totally changed through a different trajectory right in there, and something that I had not planned. And it was like, wow. And to me, that was one of the best things I've ever written, because it just totally appeared.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild when it happens, but
yes, it's just getting started.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly when people say, well, how can you write? And people say, you have to start. You just start. And then it happens.
And this applies to everything in life. You're thinking about going to school for something, you got to start. You got to figure out, like, what is the first step? You got to start.
Yes.
You can't just, because time moves. You just be there thinking about it, and this is the thing I have, mentioned a lot of times too, that, and you could probably relate to that too, is sometimes that thing of, I think I would rather be in a place where I did try this stuff and it didn't work, than being in a place where I keep wondering what will be the outcome if I had tried.
Yeah. I
think, because this is one thing I know for me, I'm somebody, I would call myself multi-passionate. I have put my hand in so many things. People are like, oh, yeah, you do a lot of stuff. I'm like, yeah, I got to try them out.
That's right. And that's what I have found myself doing so many more things after I turned 50. But you're right. I've had people who said, oh, I'm too old to go to school. I could have said, I'm too old to write a book. I'm too old to learn to play piano now. I'm too old to start bicycling. Which is why, with all these things that I say to myself, I need 30 more good years, because I feel like, I'm kind of in my prime now. And people would say, how could you be in your prime in your 60s? But that's about what I feel.
That's right. It's the mindset.
Yeah, that's right. So I need like 30 more good years.
Yes. So I hope you guys are listening and be encouraged by this, never too young, never too old. Because this is one thing too with my kids, my oldest, she's 19. She's somebody that she has her own lash studio, and I know sometimes she goes through this stuff and she's like, oh, I'm too young, this is getting stressful and all that. I'm like, have to encourage her and tell her, you just have to keep going, and I think you're doing good. Just keep going, don't give up, so yeah.
And you really can do anything. I mean, you just can. And you just get up and you go about, one day at a time, and
Yes.
Sometimes you
This,
have a little luck, but you
mhm.
you have to take advantage of things that come your way.
Yes, because this is something that applies to every age, because that's the thing. Sometimes people might not want to do stuff because they'll be like, oh, who am I? I'm too young. What experience do I have? And they don't want to get into stuff, you know. So that's another thing. And then sometimes you'll be like, oh, I'm too old. Who is going to listen to me?
Right.
Because, or who is going to, why will I want to do this when I'm
Right.
comparing, which I have said, well, like, everybody has their own race. Do not compare with other people. Compare to your own self.
Right.
Yeah.
And I actually did say that initially. I said, well, I didn't go to school. I didn't get a college degree in writing, although I always, could write. I had a good spell or a good command of grammar and things. But I said, but I don't have a degree from a university in writing and whatever, but all right, let me see what happens. And
boom,
lo and behold,
look at what happened.
Look at what happens. And then people said, wow, are you writing a second one? And then I said, okay, I'll write a second one.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that is so awesome. So if people want to get your books, is it on Amazon or is it on your website? Or
they are on, well, there are links to the books on Amazon. Okay. I'm sorry, on my website.
Okay.
They are available on Amazon, but the links are also on my website.
Okay. Okay. So the best place would be your website. You can get all the links there. Okay.
Right. You can sign up for my newsletter and, find out what's going on. But yeah, and the one thing that's happened is that, my books are not specifically, I wouldn't describe them as, chick lit. I mean, they're not, they're not that. And I think that they're books that, both genders, all genders and all ages, can relate to. Okay. So I didn't want to write something specifically,
okay,
for women only, but
okay, that's good. All right. Are you on social media or people can?
I am, and actually that's on my website too. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Okay. And Facebook and Facebook. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Yep. And all these links she's mentioning, I will have them in the show notes. So if you are watching it on YouTube, it will be on the description area. And if it's on Apple, on the audio, you see it on the show notes. So you guys can have the link there so you can connect with Arlene. Yes.
That would be great. I would love that.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate your time. And the
thrill is mine. I really appreciate it. Yes. And this has been wonderful because especially as an author, sometimes people want to just talk about your book. They don't want to talk about the person. Yes.
Yeah, this is all around. We get to talk what you're doing and get to know who you are and how you came like this. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, I'm going to end the show today with my favorite quote from Maya Angelou that says, when you know better, you do better. And so until then, I will see you guys again next time. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.